Welcome to the Freelance Drive. Here we talk with skilled freelancers about their professional journey. Stay tuned for real-life experiences to learn and actionable steps to take to improve your freelancing career. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at 9am.works, the tool that helps independent professionals find the best deals on the market and convert more. And my guest is Candice Grobler, a Fractional Community Director and a founder of the Candid Community, where she helps entrepreneurs grow their revenue with less burnout and, of course, more fun. And today we'll discuss how communities help freelancers, entrepreneurs, and business owners grow their businesses. So welcome, Candice.
Thank you so much, Yuri. I'm so excited to be talking to you about freelancing today.
And the community. I had
And
so much
community.
joy talking to you before recording, so let's just continue where we stopped. So tell me, for freelancer business owners, what is the difference between being a community member and building your own community?
Okay, so I would say there's probably about 4 roles you could take in a community, right? You could either be like a member, and a member, there's different types of members. You get people who are lurkers. The majority of people in a community are often lurkers. They're just there to scope out what's happening. They're not really actively involved in anything yet. Then you get the people who are commenting, engaging, and that is someone who I would say is like a fully engaged member. And then you potentially get advocates/contributors. Sometimes they're the same thing, sometimes they're different things, but those are the different ways that you can be a member in a community, in my opinion. But owning a community, oh my gosh, you do not understand. Like, founding it means being operationally aware of how your community is set up. It means knowing how to get people in. You really have to have a head for both marketing as well as product design, and then community building, which is the operational/engagement side of things. So it's totally different kettle of fish. Like, if you want to be involved in a community and associated with a community, you can be a member. If you really want to build and you want to work your butt off, then you start a community.
It's interesting. Sometimes people are asking me like, oh, okay, I can build this community. I can see such huge potential. Do you think we can grow to this amount of members or to this amount of money over like 5 months? I'm like, um, I don't know. It depends on how great is product that you are proposing or services are, and also how good you know how to invite people. Like, how will people know about your community? Because like you can build an amazing community, but like how people will know about it. So I feel like it's exactly what you've told us. It's the biggest part to really get people inside. And sometimes it feels like it's easier just be a member, but still, what is usually this aha moment that tells someone that, okay, it's time, I want to build a community? How do people know they need a community?
I think when you have a really big following that wants, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a massive following, like 36,000 people, if you have a substantial group of people, that can be anything from 5 to 10 members who want to engage with you on a recurring basis, and they don't necessarily want to pay you one-on-one. Like, then you're like, actually, I've got a really good cohort, here, because you could put 5 people in a WhatsApp, and that could be a very small community. On LinkedIn, Gillian Richardson, she started the Be Weird movement. She is now on her second cohort of teaching people how to be weird on LinkedIn. And she literally just, put people together because they wanted a product from her that she could provide. And that's when she created a community. When you're lonely is the worst time to create a community, because I made that mistake.
Tell me more about this.
I I really like I realized I'm a solopreneur, a freelancer. I'm working alone, and everyone who wants to work with me, they want skills that are more specialist. Like, I can build a whole community, but they need a copywriter and a web designer. And so I was like, okay, well, I need people around me to help expand my services, which is why I was like, let me bring them all into a community. And then we've got a community, right? And people will subscribe to our community. So I basically started with zero audience and started a community. And it's basically forced me to put a year in like beta mode where I didn't have any functionality to bring people into the community. Now I'm trying to run a community plus build a lead generator. It's very hard.
Okay, so you've told one of the mistakes is like being lonely and starting from there. So what are some other common mistakes that freelancers make when they try to build a community around their business?
I think one of the biggest is they assume that their audience is a community. So don't assume your following is your community. That's a big mistake. Like I once worked with someone, she had 360,000 followers on Instagram. From that, we put out a wait list. She ended up getting 3,600 people on the wait list.
Okay.
Like very good for most people. That's great, right? Of that, only 700 people converted into the free community and 69 people converted to paid out of 360,000 people. So just because you have an audience doesn't mean you have a community. You have to make those separate. I also think another thing is people just jump into community when they want a product. Community, if you want a membership, then a membership, you can sell a membership that, like one of the best memberships I know is there's Authentic AI does a Reels Club. And every month she releases a Notion calendar with reel prompts for the month with AI. So you can just create new social media clips for yourself. And what a brilliant membership. She doesn't have to have anything like for people like operationally to engage. They just get this product every month and they subscribe to it. So she has a recurring income, but it doesn't require her to have a community set up. So I think that's another mistake is people actually think they want a recurring income and they assume community is the only way to do it. Actually, if you just want a product, maybe just build a product. And then the third problem is they go in and they make their community all about them. And it's not, and I don't mean that from it's about me getting value perspective. They're like, you're coming into this community to get access to me. And the problem with that is as soon as you do that, people only buy when you're in the community. And I can promise you as a freelancer, you don't want to be sitting in your community 24/7 babysitting people. Like you can't. So it's important to build a community around a transformation that maybe is disconnected from you. Maybe you're a coach on that journey that someone else could eventually take people on. But thinking about community in a way that's like, you've got to be fully committed and always in it means that the community is not for the people there and you're not putting responsibility on the other people in your community to carry it and build that culture, and it's fully reliant on you, which is going to burn you out so badly.
You talked about very important thing that sometimes it's enough just to have a product and you don't need a community. And sometimes like community is a buzzword and people are buying it because they have like high expectations. And some people create a product, they create some Slack group and kind of like call it community, but it's still more like space. I don't know, just a space for people joining and where they're doing some conversations. And it's kind of like something that an addition. So it's not the product, it's not really given a value. Still, it's like you are just adding it just because it's kind of like nice thing to do. Yeah, we have community inside our product. Yeah, you can buy it. So how do you define community in a way that makes it really a business asset, that makes it really something that gives value to its members and not just a time suck for freelancers and entrepreneurs?
I think this is, it's very interesting. I believe community is a growth engine. Okay, so from a business perspective, community should be the flywheel around your whole business. It can feed every element of your business, from lead generation through to customer success. So I really believe that as if you're a community-driven business, your whole business model should be driven by your community, especially all your engagement with members. But like from a perspective of humans, like what is community? I think I would define community as a place where people find belonging in the journey that they're on right now, and camaraderie. So I guess it's very difficult if you're trying to position it from yourself, like as a freelancer, right? If you're like, I want community. Now you need to think, does your business need community? And how does that integrate with your current, like, how does it build your current services, right? How does it really feed your business rather than taking away from it? And then you have to ask yourself, as a human, what do I need as community? Because often the community that your business needs and the community that you need are not the same community. I find personally, as a freelancer, I have my business community, and I've got at least one or two other communities that grow me as an individual on the side. So I think maybe I've overcomplicated it a little bit, but that's my answer.
Yeah, what I hear is that you need a place for kind of like belonging, somewhere you can learn yourself, and somewhere where you can make people learn something that you already know, and like kind of like helping them to deal with the product that you are proposing, like giving the support for the product that you are building.
Yes, 100%. There was that stat, and I don't remember where it's from, but I think it's something like you should spend like 50% of your time teaching, 30% of your time with peers, and 20% of your time with people above your, who you can learn from. And I think I kind of try to apply the same thing in community. Like I try to spend my time, like a lot of my time contributing in spaces that show I'm an expert, that prove that I can like level up spaces. And then I spend space like 30% of my time in spaces that level me, like that actually are like that build my network with peers, for example, like with you, or and then I spend 20% of my time in educational spaces so that I'm always learning, in if that makes sense.
Talking about making the community around yourself. So how can really freelancers, entrepreneurs, business owners ensure that they are attracting clients inside the community, but also are not turning into a pitch fest, are not turning into something like I am the sun and you are just flying around me? Like how to ensure that you are making this balance?
You know what I did with Circle? I camped their question box when I wanted to become a Circle partner. I loved their product, and I basically got a project, got into their product community, and I answered every question, not every question, most questions that came in. If I didn't know the answer, I would link them with someone who I met in the community who did know an answer, And so, in that sense, people actually started thinking I was the community manager. At some point, I started getting tagged in support questions. And so eventually I like slowed down a little bit, but that was the best way for me to get established. Circle invited me to be part of their first partner cohort, even though I was nowhere near any of the others on their list, because they were all like really well known as Circle partners. And I was just like this newbie who was trying to get known. And literally I never once had to make a post that said this is my services or this is what like I do. Not once. All I did was I answered other people's questions, and those people followed me on LinkedIn. They followed me wherever I went, and then they reached out to me when they needed help. And not only that, now Circle promotes me to their clients too, because they know I can solve their problems.
What I hear is this: give value first.
100%. Yeah.
What about expectations? What if you are building a community and you expect that you will get 50 people every month into your community and every person will pay you like $20 per month, and then you will constantly growing and you have this business model in your mind, and then you meet reality? Like what is the reality in community building?
The reality is that lead generation is hard. It is really, really hard. And you have to decide, right? Are you going to sell a product that is very expensive and you need fewer members? Because then you only need to recruit very few high intent members, right? But Otherwise, you're going to sell something that is low value, but you're going to need volumes of leads in order to make money, right? So I've seen community, like that community where we launched, we only got 69 members. Like that was like £2,000 monthly recurring revenue, not bad, right? But then I have another community where this guy came to me and he was like, I've got 10 members, each willing to pay me $10,000 for the year.
Okay.
So we made $100,000 in 1 month with 10 members versus, the other community where we spend so much time in marketing. So you really need to set your expectation around where you are at and what value you can bring. If you can bring a lot of value that can level up someone's business very fast, then you don't need a massive audience, but you need to make sure that you have a very clear product with a clear transformation. Like, I will do this course and your business will be fully set up after a year, for example. That is a very high ticket product, So do your market research. People hate research, but they really do. Like, look at what people are willing to pay for these things. Like, just because people say start a community, people will come. That's not how it works.
There is a saying that one man's trash, another man's treasure. And I'm curious that pretty much the same service and offer can be worth like $2 per month and can be worth 2,000 per month. It depends on who are you talking to and who are your members. So from your experience, what is the difference between the community where member pay 10,000 per year and where member pay like $20 per month?
Probably will be one-on-one support, hands-on guidance. So something that's more expensive, often you will be one-on-one coaching, that will be a high ticket item. Another high ticket item will probably be you get full-on templates that you can run and implement, or a course that guides you through implementing a system. So those things often cost a lot of money. Networking communities can be high value if they are very highly curated, like we only let exclusive people in and, this is a very high value network. I've seen those be high value, but normally things like networking and connections, unless they're very curated, those are more low ticket values, mainly because you're asking people to show up and basically provide their own content and answer each other's questions. And a lot of freelancers like that, to be honest. If your audience is freelancers, they can't afford high ticket items. So maybe that is the kind of community you want to create, something where there's high volumes and people are making smaller purchases, So yeah, like you said, it definitely depends on your audience. Look down to your audience, see what they can afford. Don't try sell things that people will never buy because it won't happen. And then build your offer according to the transformation that your audience wants, not what you think they want.
Yeah, I always have to ask them, which is kind of like the hardest, also the best part, because you kind of like can meet reality where it is and without any thoughts in your mind. And you talked about courses, you talked about templates. So what are the core ingredients of a successful business community that people are getting the most value from?
The core ingredients, it's interesting because Brie Lever made this talk where she basically said that often educational and networking communities, they aren't often integrated. They're normally on a scale. They are often integrated elements, right? It's so hard for me to say this is what a membership should look like. It actually really is. But I think the very core, what you need as a freelancer to start a community is a group of people who want X from you. It might be a template and a course on how to use the template, or even just like meetings on how to use the template. That might be what they want. So you have to have people and a value to give that to the people, and that is actually all you need. You could literally start a WhatsApp group or a LinkedIn group. That could be where your community lives, but the very basic thing you need is to know how you're going to help the people go from point A to point B, and you need to be able to tell them how you're going to do that. Otherwise, they won't buy.
Still coming back a little bit when we were talking about the difference between just having a product and having a community around the product. So if you have, let's say, a template and a small course on how to use this template, why do you need a WhatsApp group?
You don't. No, you're right. You don't necessarily. So I think it's interesting. An example where this works really well, right? I have a client, they're women travel leaders, basically, very high value community. Only all they do, like networking, is that's what they're there for, right? And their main offer is events. And so, but they're all around the world. So what they do is for your events, even events they're not hosting, they will put together a WhatsApp group for all the people attending that event. And so people will download the lead generator, which tells them about the event, they'll attend the event, and then they'll join the WhatsApp group. Now, why do you want to make a WhatsApp group for every event? That is like a lot of work, right? That is a lot of maintenance, a lot of admin. But as a lead generator, it is beautiful because it's not fully inside your community yet. It's a little bit of a taste of what you'll get if you buy into the community, you know? So if you are testing the grounds, like if you are like not sure if you want to start a community, starting with the WhatsApp group with your course is a good way to test how you could build a community with your products. You know, that is a nice way to test. I would always recommend some sort of alpha beta test group. And in that case, having a community, it does help if you want to test towards growing a community.
By the way, to your point, some time ago I had sales courses and we had like 15, 20 people per each cohort. And I created different groups for these people. And it was kind of community, but it was like with a short lifespan. And so it was like for 2-3 weeks, because while people are going through course, they're invested, they're introducing themselves, they're connecting, and then those groups are still live. So every time person like, oh, I don't remember who was this person, they can go inside and then can see the intro and they can then reconnect with them. So it's becoming less a community in the sense of community, but more like an extra asset that you can use as a member and still get value from it. And the worst case scenario, you will just have one more group on your WhatsApp, whatever. So what is like the smallest step if someone who's listening right now wants to make their community their number one growth channel for their business? What should they start doing right away?
Build an audience. Make sure you know how you build your audience. I think that is the biggest mistake a lot of people do, is they rush into building the machine and then maintaining that machine, whatever it is. It might be very simple, but maintaining a machine and maintaining a content and an engagement calendar with your audience, with your members, that takes consistent work. Now, if at the same time you also have to figure out what is your best social media channel, what is your best way to talk to members or to distribute your content, that's extra work, and that's non-billable if you're a freelancer. Now you're doing non-billable community work and non-billable marketing. So what I would first do is figure out what is your main lead generator. Make sure you have a good lead magnet. Make sure you have a consistent newsletter or podcast, something like that. That will make sure whatever you make in the community has a great avenue out and people have a great avenue in, so that by the time you really want to focus on community, you don't still have to figure out, how do I get people into the community?
You know, I wish to have the sky as a limit, but time is a limit. So the final question, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food. Oh, that's so funny. I love buffalo wings.
Got it. And what is the best way to connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I used to do Instagram, but I'm trying to stay away from that now. LinkedIn is just, I like, especially with people being more authentic there, everything is there. You can find me there.
Yeah, you know, Candice, I still would love to continue this conversation. I have so much questions, so many thoughts to exchange, so many things to dive deeper. And because I truly believe in power of solopreneurship and the power of the community and how it can like help you grow as a personal and also help you grow your business, that I feel like we can talk about it forever. But it's always about like, yeah, enough is enough. So I highly recommend people to connect with you and continue this conversation. And for now, thank you so much for sharing your experience so openly.
Thank you so much. And also, I love coffee chat. So if anyone wants to have a coffee chat, I'm always up for it.
Yeah, totally. I know that. I've just recently had one. So I'll go to this.
Thank you, Yuri.
And yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button on 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.